Alright folks, hello and welcome to another Braid video. My name is LeaderGrev, and today, somewhat of a strange video and a couple of strange things going on. Firstly, when I was first recording this video, I accidentally lost the footage. The footage came out the wrong way, I didn't want it, which is sort of a heaven send because I realized just how incoherent what I was talking about was. I couldn't really get my mind out, so just as a test, I re-recorded the footage without any commentary, and now I'm just commentating over that footage completely separately. I want to see how that goes, so leave me your feedback, tell me how that goes. And another thing that I want to ask for while I have the time, since I know exactly how much time I have and what I'm going to do, is let's try to get this video up to 10 likes. Just, let's set that goal. Another thing, I feel strange asking, but if you find any of my Braid videos, or anything I do in these videos or say in these videos, particularly, I guess, relevant or interesting, please do send them along to other people. Facebook, what am I talking about? YouTube, as far as I remember, does have a share function that goes sorely underused. So if you enjoyed a video, please, aside from just liking it and telling me that, because I do take the comments to heart, and I do look at all that stuff, and I'm very happy with the responses I've been getting. But if you do like it, please do me a favor and just send it along to someone else who might enjoy. Spread the word. Alright, and now that I got that out of the way, here's what I actually want to talk about. And recently, just yesterday, I visited an art school that I was interested in attending, and unfortunately I left very, very upset. And that's because, and actually, before I get too far into this, art is something I like to talk about a whole lot. So I will be talking about the arts and video games. Somehow I'll try to tie the two together because this is video game footage and this is a video game channel. So I'll try to tie it all together. Another thing, just before I really get into that, is do send me your advice on what you want to hear me talk about, because I've been looking at this guy, Woody's Gamertag, and he does this thing where every now and then he will record a video and he will ask his viewers like what they want to hear, and he will take their comments and he will put it in a video and he'll respond to it over footage, which I thought was really cool and very interesting, and he had some very interesting things to say. So please, if you have something interesting that you want to hear about, or my opinion on something, it's a learning experience both for me and for you, because I might get to learn something I didn't know about, and you will certainly, if my opinion matters to you, will get to hear my ideas on the subject. So do please send me your ideas. So now, actually, into what I was going to talk about. I visited this art school, and I left kind of upset, actually, because I feel like there's a stigma that has to do with the arts, that sort of, you've got to wear the high knee socks and boot Converses and have crazy dyed hair to be an artist, and that just isn't so. And it kind of bothered me because I'm not going to talk trash about the school or its students, but the art I saw itself and the campus, I didn't like it much. I didn't think anything was particularly special, despite the fact that the school is a very good art school. It is highly reputable. It has I believe, a fairly low acceptance rate. But actually, speaking of acceptance rates and all of the numbers and all that, it has a fairly low score to get in, which is upsetting, because another sort of common occurrence is that you don't need to be, or thread in this sort of thing, is that you don't need to be well-rounded and educated and understand what's going on in your world to be an artist, which is absolutely untrue. And this is sort of where I tie it back into video games. Ken Levine, and I do think video games are art, Ken Levine, developer of BioShock and BioShock Infinite, is exactly how I see an artist. That is, in this day and age, especially in regards to video games, because video games are an unparalleled medium, I see him as a real artist, because he takes the world around him, he takes politics, he takes philosophy, and he inserts that into his game in relevant commentary that actually matters about the world. I learned more about politics and personal philosophy from BioShock than I did from school, to be entirely honest. School sort of helped me refine my views, but I learned about different opinions. I learned about objectivism, Ayn Rand, all these sorts of different ideas, and some I loved and some I hated. And it really helped shape me as a character. And video games have that power. Video games really do. Think about it, if you've seen Inception, and I'm not going to spoil anything if you haven't, but it's been a year or so, and if you haven't seen it, you're absolutely insane. Go see it. It's fantastic. The idea is that characters go into people's minds, then they create, like, settings, and they inject an idea into this person's mind while they're dreaming. Video games have the exact same power, and this is an analogy I want to push over and over and over again because I think it's fantastic and I came up with it. And it makes me so happy, but video game developers have that same exact power. They create settings, and characters, and ideas, and world, and philosophies, and they have the ability to immerse the player into that world, into these characters, and create an idea, implant an idea in the player's head. That is absolutely super powerful to have that kind of power. It's absolutely amazing what can be done with it. And it's unfortunate that so few developers really take that road and go beyond the this is a racing game, beyond the this is a shooter game, and really develop these ideas. There is certainly a need for more people like Jonathan Blow, the developer of Braid, the game I'm playing right now, and people like Ken Levine, who can inject things that are relevant and ideas into games. And what sets games apart from other mediums is that unlike a piece of artwork, like a piece of visual art, or a movie, actually, no, that's not a really fair comparison, because in this sense video games are sort of like these other mediums. You can't write a book overnight. You can't make a movie overnight, that's just not possible. Similarly with games, games have long development cycles. They have publishers who like to make money. It's all part of the business, it makes sense, right? The problem with that is that it's hard for games to be relevant regarding the world around them. And it's often, I imagine it's hard to be a developer and to think, well, how am I going to make a video game about this issue right now? So let's take News Corp, for example, and their phone hacking scandal. How can I make a video game regarding News Corp and the whole scandal and all of that? And how can I keep that relevant when I know this game is going to come out a year and a half later, after this whole scandal is going to be over? How can I have fresh, relevant commentary when things might change, and I can't indefinitely change my game around world events? How can I do that? And part of it is, I think, indirect learning, and I'll get into that in a second, and part of it is simply games have the power to be extremely in-depth and extremely powerful in terms of education, and not even like, I'm not talking about education games, don't even get me started on that, I don't want to talk about that. Don't like educational games. Although I do have some good memories of playing Ozzy's Science and Math Munchers, but that's a different story entirely. Games can educate and they can be relevant, they can discuss these sort of ideas, and even if it's not right in time, I mean, BioShock, for example, I'm gonna keep coming back to BioShock and Ken Levine, but BioShock is about a philosophy, and the philosopher who came up with the idea of this philosophy, which BioShock is about, died years ago. Ayn Rand. She was a woman who came up with objectivism, of political philosophy, not even a political philosophy, just philosophy in general, and BioShock is about that. The philosophy, I hadn't even heard about it until BioShock came out, until I learned more about BioShock. And that's just it. Games can take issues that are important, bring them back, bring them to light, discuss them, can keep history alive. For example, there's a famous quote, if you forget history, you're bound to repeat it. This is just it. I would probably have never known about Ayn Rand and objectivism, and I would have never crafted an opinion about it unless I had heard of BioShock, which is fantastic. Indirect learning, that's just it. You create a game and say, you name, it could be something as small as naming a boat, the Garden of Eden, or it could be something as wide-stretched as making an entire game based around a philosophy. People will become interested in this. I mean, occasionally, on the off chance, a gamer might think, gee, there's this book called The Garden of Eden. I've heard The Garden of Eden somewhere before. Why don't I look it up? And they go on Wikipedia and they find Garden of Eden and they learn about it. They go into the Wikipedia of the game and they find all these other terms and references and they learn about it. It's a fantastically powerful thing. Moreover, developers can just push their ideas through these games. Now that I think about it, that's not what I wanted to talk about in this. I wanted to talk about like the stigma of being an artist, the idea that you have to be sort of crazy and nonconformist to be an artist, which just isn't true and it just doesn't make sense. I can't wrap my head around that idea. The way I see it, nonconformism sort of started as a movement where people were like, and it's a majestic idea. I love the idea in general. It's like, we should be unique, we should be different. Let's all be separate. But it's come to be this sort of thing, this collective mass of different from normal, but all the same as one giant blob. So it's like a whole bunch of different people who are the same altogether. Which is counterproductive, it just doesn't make sense, it's counterintuitive. And because I think I'm running out of time, the same thing is sort of happening with gamers. There's a similar stigma happening with gamers, and all sorts of productions and publications are sort of feeding to this idea that gamers are the boys in their mom's basements, they are the kids drinking Mountain Dew. Machinima, I love Machinima. I aspire to become a Machinima director. I absolutely love that, and more on that later whenever I release my next Minecraft video, because that is something I want to talk about. Machinima has advertisements that pander to this lower brow gaming stereotype. I don't get it. I'm not for that. But there are certain stigmas that we all need to get past and get around. And so I think I've just about finished up with my time. So I might develop this idea further because I branched off into a whole different topic, unfortunately, or fortunately. I mean, I guess it means something less to cover. So tell me your ideas, get this to 10 likes, share it with some friends, like, comment, subscribe, please tell me what you thought, and have a nice day.